Kito.
Hello.
Did I say your name right?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Could you please introduce yourself?
Okay, so my name's Kito. And I do consulting, training, mentoring with a lot of different technologies. So not just Angular, but also with Java, also Polymer, web components, and some other stuff as well. So yeah, that's pretty much me. And I've been doing this way too long. So.
And you have a talk on PrimeNG native UI components for Angular 2?
Yep.
What do you like about PrimeNG in comparison to other component libraries that are available for Angular?
Well, I think probably the main thing is that it's pretty complete. There's like a lot of components. There's like over 70 now, and it's complete and open source. So having a library like that that's that complete, it's open source and is also like native for Angular is pretty awesome. And I think that's probably the biggest difference compared to other component libraries, is just that it's such a large set and it's open source. And another thing I really like is theming. And I know most libraries have some sort of theming mechanism, but that's one of the things I really like about it, is that you can actually have the same components and everything, and then make it look like material design, or make it look like some other language, or design language, or make a whole new theme. So I think that's one of the key things as well.
And what kind of companies do you see using PrimeNG?
Well, PrimeNG is derived from a product called PrimeFaces, which is another open source library, but it's popular more in the Java ecosystem. And the target there has always been large organizations and enterprises. So I've been working with PrimeFaces a lot over the years as well, and the components have been designed to work in organizations that where it's mission critical. Really, accessibility is a key thing as well. So basically, what we find with PrimeNG is that a lot of those same organizations, like large companies and government organizations, are adopting it, but also with PrimeNG, since it's more the Angular ecosystem, we find also some startups and educational organizations as well getting into it as well.
Okay. And what are some of the use cases for this library that you see are very common?
Well, basically, any app that has a complicated UI, right? So whether you need like a grid or like a calendar component or charts or something over and above just a whole bunch of simple input controls, it's really great for that.
And how easy is it to use PrimeNG with other components that or plugins that you might want to use in an Angular project?
We haven't really found any issues, and I think that's basically because they're native Angular components. Okay. Initially, a lot of the internals were done with jQuery, but that's pretty much been almost completely removed. Okay. So they're native Angular components. They work with, people have been using them with different projects, with different other component suites, and they seem to work fine.
Are there components that people tend to complain about in PrimeNG?
Probably the biggest one is the data table. Okay. And I think that's a pretty common thing because the data tables are just very complicated components. And with the latest version, PrimeNG 4, things have gotten a lot more stable. But previously that was probably the biggest complaint, was the data table.
It's hard to create a data table component that has all the options for all the people.
Exactly.
All the time, right?
I mean, that's the reason why AG Grid is here with that's their main thing, is the grid, right? Because the grids are just hard. And it's something nobody wants to do from scratch. Like, nobody wants to write a grid component, so.
And every component is slightly different for the specific domain. Like how would you customize a table component to work in these kind of situations where it's just slightly different than what the component has built in out of the box?
Well, first of all, you have to look at all the attributes, right? So often there's like, one attribute that does what you want, but you have to actually look, read the documentation to see what the options are. And other than that, there's the ability to have like, custom parts like a header and footer and stuff. So inside of there, you can put whatever components you want, so you can sort of customize that part as well.
Right. What would you recommend a developer to know before starting to use PrimeNG?
I'd say you just have to really know Angular. I mean, you don't have to be an expert, but you have to at least understand how things work, because the when you add it to a project, you can usually use the CLI. You can use the CLI, excuse me, or you can just add the dependencies manually. But obviously some Angular knowledge. But other than that, there's really nothing special.
Sounds good. If someone wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way to find you on the internet?
Probably the easiest way would be Twitter. My handle is @Kito99.
Okay.
Also, my company site is Virtua.tech. It's another option. It's probably the best choices.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks for having me.
Hey there. Are you into reactive programming using JavaScript? Do you have to deal with asynchrony in your web app? And join this instructor Ben Lesh to learn all of the ins and outs of RxJS in his hands-on workshop. Available online and in person, go to rxworkshop.com for more details and to book your spot today.